All right, hello everyone. All right, here we go again. So, I'm tonight I'm going to start Act 3. I was going to make more videos today, but life got in the way, and there was a 2-hour episode of The Masked Singer, which I have been watching. Not sure why, and I haven't been reduced to the Tiger King quite yet, and I have been reading quite a bit still, so I've been keeping busy. Hope you all are safe. Hope your families are well. In any case, so in this video I'm just going to do Act 3, Scene 1. It's a fairly lengthy scene, and there's a lot of things to discuss in it. And again, I'm not satisfied with the summary, but I'm going to read it, and then we'll get into the details. So, the summary goes like this. Banquo is also suspicious of Macbeth. Thou hast it now, King Cawdor gloms all as a weird woman promised, and I fear thou playest most foully for it. But he thinks about the prophecy concerning his own children, and this gives him hope. Macbeth, too, has been thinking about his prophecy, and it gives him cause for bitterness. He realizes that his own crown is fruitless and his scepter barren. He murdered Duncan in order to make the witch's prophecy come true, but now he plots to murder Banquo and Fleance, Banquo's son, so that the witch's promise to Banquo may not come true. So his belief in those prophecies was all well and good when it justified him getting what he wanted, but when it was the opposite, he put some energy into defying that. So as the scene opens, so we've read the bit about thou hast now King Cawdor gloms all. But Banquo also says, yet it was said that it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. Right. So he is happy that that is going to play out in that way. Now, if you keep in mind earlier, he had mentioned that he was loyal to Duncan, but that loyalty only extends so far as Duncan's life, and he has realized that, in fact, he has to switch his loyalty to Macbeth because Macbeth is the king, and being loyal to a dead king is not a very fruitful enterprise. And the fact of the matter is, he could tell other people what he believes to be true about Macbeth, but he doesn't, which to some extent makes him an accomplice to murder in a way. Now, so Macbeth, that's all that the summary gives you. But so Macbeth enters the scene, and now some time has passed since the coronation. So Macbeth has been king for a while now, and some things have been happening. So, for example, that when they've come together just simply to do business of states, they've got to run a country to run, and so they're meeting to do that. And they're going to have a feast that night. And Macbeth pulls Banquo aside and mentions that Malcolm and Donalbain have been in England and Ireland fomenting rumors about what they think happened to their father, suggesting that, in fact, that perhaps the new king is responsible, right? And so, for time for those rumors to get around, it didn't have the internet in those days, so it would have been taken a while. So it's likely been several months that Macbeth has been king. In any case, they're going to have a banquet that night, and now in a scene that is just filled with dramatic irony, Banquo is asked by Macbeth some questions about how he's going to pass the time between, say, now and when the banquet begins at 7. And Banquo answers he's going to go for a ride. He's going to go for a horse ride. Macbeth asks him questions, and those questions seem innocuous enough, but in fact they are more likely an effort by Macbeth to get some information that he's going to need in order to figure out where and when he's going to murder Banquo. Now, so he asks him, where are you going to go? And Banquo's going to go, well, I'm going to go, and it might be dark when I get back, but I'm going to go. And Macbeth asks, oh, goes Fleance with you? As again, another innocuous question. He just wants to know if he can, tie this whole thing up in one go, kill both Banquo and Fleance, who is, obviously, as Banquo's only son, is obviously the one who's going to carry on the line. So if he can murder both of them, that would be awesome. Now, so Banquo leaves, and Lady Macbeth is dismissed, and Macbeth enters into a conversation with two murderers. So these are men that he has spoken to before, and this is their second time meeting. And he has, in their first meeting, he spent some energy trying to convince them that Banquo is a bad guy. That Banquo is in fact that these men are very, very poor, and that reason is because they have been heavily taxed by Banquo, which, you thought was our innocent self, which you thought it was me, but I've explained to you why it's Banquo. And the likelihood is, in fact, that it was Macbeth, but these guys aren't smart enough to refute his arguments. And in convincing them to murder Banquo, right, he uses many of the same arguments that his wife uses. His reasoning for killing Banquo was also interesting to note, right? That his discussion of killing Banquo is different markedly from his discussion of the killing of Duncan. He doesn't kill Duncan because he has ethical obligations not to do it, right? And his only real reason for doing it is ambition, and so he sort of talks himself out of it. Now, instead of sort of weighing the pros and cons in this case, in this discussion of Banquo's death, he is simply giving his reasons, right? So Banquo's death is a foregone conclusion. It's just he's starting to justify in his own mind why he needs to do this thing, and he does need to do it, and that is because he doesn't trust that Banquo has his best interest at heart, although he has no evidence to support that. But also, he's angry that all of his uncertainty, all of his effort has gone simply to make Banquo's children kings, right? So he says, he chid the sisters, Banquo, he chid the sisters when first they put the name of a king upon me, and bade them speak to him. Then prophet-like they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown, and put a barren scepter in my grip, thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, a hand that's not in my line. So, if it be so, for Banquo's issue, and he says issue a few times, and issue means children, the children that issue from Banquo. For Banquo's children have I defiled my mind, right, with the knowledge of the sin he's committed. For them, the gracious Duncan, have I murdered, I've committed murder, put rancors in the vessel of my peace. Again, I've made my life less peaceful, only for them, for Banquo's children, and mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man to make them kings. So his eternal jewel is his soul, and he's given it to the common enemy of man, to Satan. So he knows he's going to hell for this, and he's going to suffer. And for what? Ultimately nothing. To make Banquo's children kings. So he's determined to act on that. And in his discussion with these murderers, he's pretty determined that they are willing to carry out the deed. So he blames Banquo for their poverty. He also questions their manhood by comparing them in a way to the best and worst of dogs. So he says, I, in the catalogue ye go for men, as hounds and greyhounds, mongrels, spaniels, curs, shelfs of water rugs, and demi-wolves are clept all by the name of dogs. So if you were to look in the catalogue under dog, they all have, everything from hounds to water rugs and demi-wolves are all dogs. Now, some dogs are better than other dogs, right? So there are certain things that they all have in common, but there's the bill that rates them all alike, and then there's some other things that can be added to that make one dog better than another. It's the same thing with men, right? So in the same way, if I were to look you up, you say men, yeah, 2 arms, 2 legs, right? A head, right? But some men are better than others in the way some dogs are better than others. And so if you're one of the better dogs, then you really ought to do this thing, right? He has made you poor and impoverished your family for a generation. What are you going to do about it? Are you so gospel? Are you so religious that you're willing to forgive anything, even this? And they are convinced that in fact they really ought to do this thing. And not only will they get rid of their enemy, they will get rid of his. And he also says, well, Anne Flanne's got to go because his death is also material to me. Now, these guys aren't smart enough, they aren't powerful enough, right? They aren't positioned well enough to decline anyway. but he feels at least he should convince them that they ought to do this thing. In any case, they offer, they're going to do it, and he tells them that he's going to send somebody to tell them where to be, such that they can commit that murder, and then off they go. So they're going to plant themselves so that when Banquo has finished his ride, when he's on his way back to the castle, they'll be able to waylay him and murder him and Fleance. Alright, I guess that's it.